So I do want to geek out at some point, but I wanted to start with the conversation that we had earlier today because it's both personal and I think relevant to most of the people in the room. If you've not experienced this, you will at some point in your life. And your research around Alzheimer's, I shared with you, my mother had dementia, and it was probably one of the most painful experiences that I've gone through in my life to see someone you love really kind of disappear in front of your face. But the most painful part of that for me was the fact that I could see that she knew that she had diminished capacity and that she had anxiety over that. And Dr. Black shared with me something that, again, personal experience with your mom, but you decided to take some learning out of that. Can you share with the audience what that was?
Yeah, so thank you, by the way, for that really nice introduction. But, as you point out, I spent most of my career really focused on trying to find effective ways of treating brain cancer. And we had developed a vaccine, a therapeutic vaccine for brain cancer that was really showing very promising results. And as I shared earlier today, I've always said that I thought brain cancer was the most devastating disease that one could imagine. But here I am, sort of this leading neurosurgeon, neuroscientist, and my mother develops Alzheimer's disease, and there was nothing that I could do. And you realize as you learn about the disease that it not just has an impact on the patient, but on the family and the caregivers. But a couple of lessons that I took away from my mother, and sort of the last gift that she left me was really a gift to see into the future, right? To see what could happen to me 30 years from now if I didn't really make a change in my life. So watching my mother go through this, which was very devastating, and learning about the disease, I could really see what would happen. So I lost 50 pounds. I went down from about 220 to 170. I changed my lifestyle, changed my habits, really changed my outlook. And then I realized that even though there wasn't much that I could really do for my mother, there was something that I could probably do for my daughter and my grandkids, right? And I sort of made a commitment to myself, that we would actually try to accelerate the development of effective treatments for, this very devastating disorder.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. You once said that research is about creating new knowledge, and we're in the knowledge creation age. So with that methodology for research, what would you share with this group that are innovators and technologists in terms of what the possibilities, what's the art of the possible?
So the way that I really look at research and science and creativity is really to look at the similarities between really art and science. Because, people describe art as a discipline that's practiced with passion, and science is really a passion that's practiced with discipline. And to really be a great scientist, not a good scientist, you have to push that creative edge. It's about seeing things that other people don't see. It's making those odd observations. It's looking at the mole on bread and saying, wow, it's like I need to cut this out. But there's no microorganisms growing around that, and maybe that could become an antibiotic like penicillin. So it's really the aha moments. It's the times that you actually see things that people have overlooked or that have not viewed in the right way, when you can really make those leaps in discovery and really push the field forward. And by the way, when you do that, be ready to swim upstream, because everybody who's an expert in the field would tell you that that's impossible. So I would give you sort of one example. 25 years ago, we came up with the concept that we could actually make a vaccine for brain cancer. And that was a time when people didn't think there was an immune system even in the nervous system, and everybody said that's impossible. But we actually did it. And we actually have patients that are living out now 12 years that had a prognosis of 18 months that got the vaccine. And you cannot go to a cancer meeting now without really looking at the exciting discoveries in immunology of cancer and therapeutic vaccines and checkpoint inhibitors. The field has really changed. But you got to really spend that time to get a lot of resistance and people telling you that you're crazy.
That's amazing. How many people hear that? So I'm a geek at heart, and with all the new emerging technologies like AI or machine learning, what role do you see these technologies in your work, and what encouragement would you give to the audience in terms of
Right. So I actually think this is really a very exciting time. I mean, when I was in medical school, or those that are gone through medical school, we actually learn to be reactive. And even now, you learn, here's a patient with a disease, this is how to treat it. But I think that we're right on the verge of a paradigm shift, in that the future of healthcare is not going to be treating disease, it's going to be predicting disease and preventing those pathological events from occurring. With the ability to really understand one's genetic predisposition in a very inexpensive way, you have the foundation to really understand what things one is at risk of getting. And with AI algorithms, from everything from how fast we type on our phone or what we're doing, or where we're moving and how we're moving, you can basically take all of this information and start predicting a stroke or a heart attack or Alzheimer's disease before it actually occurs, and try to intervene and prevent that event from occurring, right? So I think a lot of probably what you were doing in Microsoft, there's algorithms that can actually tell or predict with high probability when a woman is pregnant before she actually gets a pregnancy test. You can look at where she's shopping, what she's doing, and have high predictability. The same is true for a heart attack or a stroke. So the impact that we can have from preventing a stroke is so much larger than trying to reverse the devastating consequences of a stroke. And I think that the future physicians would be very expert at that, and I'm not even sure that it's going to be done by physicians or whether it's going to be done by AI algorithms if we can figure out the regulatory process. But it's going to be a very exciting time and a lot of opportunity for driving down cost and efficiency.
I completely agree with you. And, one of the biggest challenges we have in healthcare outside of the regulatory issues is how do we bend that cost curve? And how do you improve the overall experience for both clinicians and patients, right? And so just building on that theme a little bit, how do you see, are you saying that doctors are going to be out of business, or we won't have to go to medical school, or how do you see that playing out?
So I think that we have to have a dramatic shift in the way that physicians practice medicine, because physicians now are basically burdened by a lot of administrative work, healthcare work. They're not really focused towards quality of care. I think the payment system, the incentive system is wrong. You don't want to go to a surgeon who's incentivized to actually do an invasive procedure on you. You want to go to someone that's incentivized to keep you well and out of the operating room, so we need to change that paradigm. And I think we need to be able to give physicians a different set of tools and their patients to really do what they love to do and what they're passionate about, and that's to keep a patient healthy. So I tell you, one of the frustrating things is that when my mother got Alzheimer's, it is not cost effective for a neurologist to try to sit there for an hour and a half and deal with all the social issues and all the impact of trying to deal with that. So they just want to give some Aricept and get her, get to the next patient. So that's not an effective way of treating someone. So I think the ability to try to focus on early detection, prevention, really focus on the wellness is going to really change, I think, the quality of life and the experience of health that we can really experience for a fraction of the cost. Very disruptive.
Absolutely agree. So we're looking for the Uber of healthcare,
right,
so to speak. I'm going to change gears a little bit, and this is courtesy of Carolyn Clark. So I'm taking my new media training from Carolyn, but she did such a great job this morning. I don't know if she's here or not, but you're on your way to Thailand. Talk a little bit about your initiative, health and wellness, and what you're trying to get accomplished in Thailand.
Yeah. So I'm working with the medical system there called Bangkok Duset Medical Group. Thailand is one of the largest centers for health tourists. Very well-trained physicians, Four Seasons-like hospitals for a fraction of the cost. And we're creating sort of a wellness longevity center to essentially do just that, right in the center of Bangkok, where it's kind of a members-only program. We screen members that are motivated to really stay well and healthy, and basically apply all of the expertise and technology from genetic profiling to lifestyle to predictive algorithms to basically keep the members well, to have them do all of the things that we know scientifically may extend their life and longevity and wellness, brain health, and total body health.
That's outstanding. How do I sign up? So, can I go to Bangkok with you tonight? So,
You want to come on a 20-hour flight, you're welcome.
I've been on many 20-hour flights in my life, trust me. So here's another great question. It's luck, talent, or drive. Which one has been most significant in your journey?
I would, if I had to pick of the three, I would say drive, number one, because with drive you can almost overcome most obstacles. But if you have drive and talent, that's probably the most important combination. Luck is random. I mean, you can make your own luck. I don't know that I really believe in luck because I think, as someone said earlier, you take what you have and you just make your luck.
Yeah. One of my dad's favorite saying was that, the worst thing you could do is miss an opportunity when it presents itself, and the second worst thing you could do is not be prepared for that opportunity when it comes, right? So that's very insightful. So there's a lot going on in the world today, and there's obviously a pipeline crisis in terms of young talent, and particularly talent of color. So what's your take on that crisis, and what are you doing, or how do you suggest we address it?
Well, I did a sort of an experiment, control experiment. How much time we got? Within my family, because I have a son and a daughter. As I was saying earlier, we live in Bel Air. Talking about the Prince of Bel Air. My wife is an academic physician at UCLA. Both my my kids were going to private school, and when my son turned about 11 or 12, his pants were sagging. He wanted to be Kobe and an NBA player, and he was totally into rap. And I say, wow, it's like the impact of social media on our African American males. And you begin to realize that with two parents, education in the right environment, you can, correct for that. But the impact of someone, with a single parent, struggling, working, not really having that support can be really devastating. So I think we face a huge challenge in that regard. I think it's critical to address the pipeline, not in the 11th or 12th grade, but really more in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade. At Cedars, I created this program called BrainWorks, where we bring students from challenged school systems in LA. We brought about 2,000 into Cedars over the past 20 years, and they get to be a neurosurgeon for a day, simulated brain tumor operation on a $1 million surgical microscope, dissect sheep brains. But more importantly, I've been working with the University of Michigan to create this pathway program where I gave a gift and leveraged that gift and got them to create a program where they go back into the 6th and 7th grade in communities in Detroit, identify students that they bring up to the university during the summer, get their parents involved because a lot of the parents have never been to college before. And if they complete the program, they're guaranteed admission into the University of Michigan with all tuition paid. And if they have a financial challenge, tuition and room and board. So we graduated our first class this year, and of 90 students in that year, 67 got admitted into the university with full tuition paid. So I think It's the pipeline that I'm interested in creating, and I think we need to understand. The women, you guys are fine. You guys are killing it. But the males, we're falling behind, and we got to understand this issue and address it.
You know, I could talk to you for hours, and we've talked for hours today, and, you know, I've researched you over the last week. But what advice, in the final question, what advice would you give? I'm sorry, let me turn that question around. What do you need from this audience? How can we help the work that you do?
This has been a great day. I think it's inspiring to me, you know, to see faces that I wouldn't have otherwise seen in my environment. So I think just continue to do the work. I would love, you know, it's difficult to really make that jump from the research lab into proof of efficacy in a clinical study, right? Because nobody wants to fund that research. It's high risk. The failure rate is 19 out of 20. So the funding community understands that dilemma, particularly in the healthcare space. But there are so many cures and so many opportunities that are sitting on the shelf that are really not moving towards clinical proof of concept. So I think, you know, getting those technologies with diverse representation, diverse minds, creative minds, and then just bringing that pipeline and mentorship along is what I would love to see from this group.
Thank you. And again, on behalf of all the folks in the room, we are inspired by you, and I think your presence today has helped inspire a lot of people to do their best. So thank you so much.
Thank you.